No! Nah, I'm just joking. That's actually from the Red Frame Kai and broke months ago. This one right here is still perfectly fine, thankfully. Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another Gunpla review, and today I'm taking a look at the absolutely awesome high-resolution Gundam Astray Red Frame. If you haven't seen the unboxing yet, you can check that out, as well as a quick look at the inner frame of this guy, which is actually made from a figure, in case you don't know. And as always, if you do want one of these of your own, there's a link down in the description, and you can get one from those awesome people over at Hobbylink Japan. Now on to the review. So here is what the high-resolution red frame looks like out of the box, just snapped onto that inner frame with a couple of the stickers attached. And I have to say, this right here is one THICC thick boy. The proportions here are crazy, even at the same time as being so thick, both its knees and its elbows are wider than its waist. And honestly, don't even get me started on those whoppers it calls feet. This little piggy went to the market. But before jumping into overly judging this thing, I will mention that if you just stick it right there in a standard standing pose, it looks like an absolute chode. But with just some subtle changes to the way that it's standing makes a huge difference, and it goes from chode to champ instantly. It just looks weird in a normal standing position. So before I actually start comparing and contrasting this to some other red frames that have come out in the past, I'm just going to take it as it is. And the first thing I have to mention is the color separation is insane. We have high gloss white. The white is separated into that high gloss I mentioned already, as well as this very light gray. On top of the light gray, we've got a darker gray, an even darker gray. We've got gloss black, gloss red, a matte red, die-cast metallic parts in a metallic red, and die-cast metallic gray on the feet. And by the way, I don't know what that is. I must have stepped in something and it looks like peanut butter. Seriously, don't ask. Lastly, then we've got metallic green on the cameras of the head as well as the eyes, and these are part of the inner frame figure. The detailing on here is mesmerizing, and it is an absolute joy to look at. Seriously, this looks beautiful. And just in case, like me, you're an avid 1/100 master grade builder, I will mention that this right here doesn't have an opening cockpit and pilot figure like they do, just in case you're interested. There are also some sticker style decals in here, so sadly there are no dry transfers, there are no water slides, but some of these stickers are fitted to the sections like a real grade, so they don't look as messy as other stickers. I did pop on the Sakura on the shoulder's leg, as well as the symbol over here on the other shoulder. So moving on to some comparisons, and here it is side by side with two other Astray Red frames that I currently own. And that is the ever classic master grade Gundam Red Frame Kai, as well as the absolutely awesome little real grade Astray Red Frame. Just like the other previously released high-res kits, which would be the Wing as well as the Barbatos, Bandai have taken a lot of liberties with this design in order to make it more unique, more high-res I guess. And although this is instantly recognizable as the Gundam Astray Red Frame, this kit both looks and feels like an upgrade to the Red Frame as opposed to the same mobile suit. It's bigger, beefier, crazier looking. Again, it does look like some sort of spiritual upgrade to the standard Red Frame. Even at that, in a standard standing pose, this kit can look both awkward and weird. Kinda like the Astray's been hitting the gym and roids so hard it can barely move anymore, which 100% is not the case surprisingly. Actually, the articulation in this kit is unreal. And honestly, any other pose besides the standard awkward just standing there one instantly makes this kit so much more appealing looking, and I mean so much more appealing looking. But all in all, onto some more in-depth comparisons. So first off, there it is side by side to the original line art, and honestly, and surprising to me, this seems to be more line art accurate than the master grade. It seems to be the case that the red frame was always intended to be a bit of a thick boy. However, for some odd reason they decided this time around to make its neck red instead of the usual white. Next, there it is side by side with the fan favorite Master Grade Gundam Astray Kai, and the Master Grade definitely has a more sleek and agile look to it than the high res, but it has absolutely nothing on it when it comes to detailing and that awesome color separation on the high res. There it is beside the epic little real grade red frame. When scaled up to the same size, this kind of falls in between the master grade and the high res when it comes to proportions. And honestly, for a kit so small, the real grade is incredibly impressive. I don't actually have the perfect grade yet, but here's a side-by-side comparison anyway, and it seems that this kit was the original Gundam Astray Thick Boy TM, and probably still the closest to the original design, in my opinion. And finally then is the absolutely over-the-top metal build, another one that I don't have. This isn't actually a kit, it's a figure just in case you don't know. And a spicy meatball at that. Honestly, I assume this thing right here is the king of the 1/100 Astrays, but honestly I can't tell you as I haven't seen it. Hopefully I will though. Next then, for a size comparison, there it is side by side with a standard high grade, the master grade Granddaddy Gundam, and a can of Coke for scale. And finally, as usual, we're going to check this guy out for shelf presence, so I popped him up on the shelf. If you can spot him, he's got that shelf presence. If you can't, maybe he doesn't, but it's getting a little bit cluttered up there, so if you can't spot him, I don't blame you. And of course, it may seem that I forgot about this, but I didn't. And of course, that means it's time for...
Who's that
Gundam part? So it actually turns out this little piece right here is off the plastic hand grenade formerly known as the Master Grade Exia Dark Matter. There are probably hundreds if not more pieces of this guy lying around the place, because this kit sheds more than my dog. So if you are ever going to pick up this absolutely awesome looking kit, I recommend buying some glue and gluing everything that doesn't move on this, because otherwise you're in for a nightmare. But as usual, thank you to everyone who actually commented to tell me what this is. It is a whole lot of help, because I would never, ever have guessed where this came from. Again, thanks again. So moving on to the accessories, and here is the high-res Astray with everything that it comes with. And in here we have a whopping 5 pairs of hands, a base adapter, the Gerbera Straight katana and scabbard, a part to attach the scabbard to the waist, the beam rifle adapter, 2 beam sabers and 2 beam saber effect parts, and finally the shield. Taking a closer look at everything, and as for the hands, we've got a pair of fists, a pair of dynamic widespread open hands, these look fantastic, some open palmed hands with extended fingers and a curled in thumb, quite samurai, as well as 2 types of holding hands. 1 pair is for holding the katana and 1 pair is for the rifle, sabers and shield. As for the action base adapter, that is for using the kit with an action base, and that can be attached at the waist unit or at the underside of the backpack. With this version of the Red Frame, the Gerbera Straight looks mesmerizing this time around. It looks absolutely glorious and anything but straight. It's more curved and broad like an actual katana, has chrome silver on the blade, a gold plating on the detailing, and has a 2-layered hilt with dark grey sandwiched over some red. All in all, this looks absolutely perfect. There is also an effect added here to the business side of the blade, but the blade crests here don't really look as effective as Bandai had wanted them to be. They look clear on the box, on the blade, not so much. Moving on to the scabbard, and it looks equally as impressive in gold, white, red and grey. And the Gerbera Straight, or should I say Gerbera Bent, can be actually stored in there, which is pretty damn awesome, and it clicks in really nicely. To attach this whole thing to the mobile suit, you just pop off the side skirt armor here, which unlike the master grade is actually connected to the butt flap, and when that is removed you just stick on this big section here, and then the scabbard connects onto that. And we do get 2 of these in here, which somewhat implies that there will be a high-res Red Frame Kai in the future. The beam rifle looks very nice in an almost black dark grey as well as a light grey. We've got a clear lens in the sight, the front handle can pivot from side to side like so, and by popping these 3 pieces off, we get an absolutely awesome looking short beam rifle. When not in use, this can be stored round on the butt flap by using this little handy dandy adapter which clips onto the barrel of the rifle and then pops into the butt flap. As for the beam sabers, they slot into these particular hands here, same as the rifle ones. And the beams in here look great. These are broad flat beams with a rushing energy effect closer down to the handles. And when these are not in use, they can be attached around here on the backpack. The shield is pretty standard looking, very nicely detailed. There is the front, there is the back. There is an articulated connector around on this side that can both rotate and bend in and out like so. And this little section here can attach onto these really unique attachment points on the back of the elbows, which can rotate the hole out of the way for when you're not using them and rotate it back out for when you are. So the shield attaches in there and then slides into the hand like so. And all in all, everything holds on pretty damn well, pretty solid. Moving right onto the articulation, and this swole beast of an Astray has been doing yoga between its monster supersets, because this thing right here out-articulates even the master grade. And it out-articulates it in every aspect, and especially destroys it when it comes to the feet, waist, Hand and shoulder articulation. This is an insanely articulated kit. It's so damn good. First off, at the neck we have the head all the way up, down, full 360 round and round, a little bit of side to side tilt, and sadly, no giggity giggity. Adding the outer armor didn't get rid of that awesome bend at the shoulder to the front, so you can still fold this guy's arm simple. Full 360 spin of the arm at the shoulder. The shoulder armor is separate to that joint, so you can still move it back and forward to keep the shoulder armor looking natural after moving the arm. Up and down flippy flappy. Full rotation at the upper arm. The bend at the elbow is pretty good, but not as great as I was expecting. But this is made up for by what is the best wrist I've ever seen on a Gundam ever. We've got a joint in the lower forearm which moves before the ball joint, the ball joint itself, a hinge that allows the hand to flap forward and upwards, and finally another hinge that allows it to bend outwards. There's a whole lot going on in here. It is worth mentioning here that this hand right here bends the opposite direction to that widespread open hand. The ab crunch is pretty good. It's not crazy, just pretty good. There are 2 points of articulation for the side to side ab crunch, so we get quite a bit here. And we get full 360-degree rotation at the waist and a slight bit of rotation up here in the torso. Remember his wiener? Of course you do. Well, that's what this can do. It can move the front skirting armor around a bit. Around at the butt flap there is no movement, so no premium butt flap here, but these side skirts do move from the butt flap. There is the kick all the way up to the front, so pretty good. Quite blocked out to the back, and as for the splits, it has no problem whatsoever. There is a joint in the waist unit that allows the legs to swing down and forward independent of each other. We don't get the full rotation here, it does get blocked in towards the inside, but we do get quite a decent range of motion in that rotation. There is the bend at the knee and it is incredibly impressive. It bends at 2 parts. It doesn't look as odd as it did when it was just the inner frame, but that is one nice bend. It looks great. And the range of motion is perfection. At the ankle we can move the foot all the way down as far as this. Here it is all the way back up. One hell of a side to side pivot. Like I showed you earlier on, those little piggies can move up and down. And one absolutely awesome thing I'll mention about the feet is because there's a lot of die cast parts down here, they're weighted, so this can actually look at its feet and not fall over. This is great. Lastly then, around on the back we've got this little section here for attaching the backpack that has 2 points of articulation, and on the backpack we've got those 2 points for attaching the beam sabers, which can also rotate a bit. Finally, there's the backpack put into its default position. So that is it for the review, and this beast right here brings high resolution to the next level. It's solid, it's impressive, it's super posable, and this is Gundarium tier without a doubt. The high-res Barbatos and the high-res Wing which came out before this were great out of the box, but a myriad of issues kind of cropped up over time, including a lot of loose parts. So I put this thing right here through the ringer to make sure these issues weren't there. Like I mentioned, with those other kits, the biggest issues were stability over the long run and a lot of loose parts and joints. But no matter what I did to this kit, it still feels absolutely fantastic. I even broke the V-fit. I did fix it though. I feel with the high-res Wing and Barbatos, you build them, pose them once, and leave them there to look awesome, but that is not the case here. This kit right here is as solid as it looks, and it is deceptively posable. The articulation here is befitting a master swordsman, and that's when this kit looks its best. Just standing there, it can look kind of awkward. But get this beast in a pose, and that goes away instantly. And even if you are a beginner, don't let this kit scare you away. It's deceptively simple. Really, all you have to do is snap a bunch of parts onto a figure, and there's nothing really all that difficult. So even if you are a beginner, this still comes highly recommended. It's an incredibly quick build, and it looks boss right out of the box. Once again, if you do want one of your own, there is a link down there in the description. You can get one at Hobbylink Japan. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Make sure to come back for more Gundam reviews, and I'll see you next time.